Hey, good evening. Welcome to A Foreigner in the Philippines. We're waiting for dinner. So while I'm waiting for dinner, I thought I'd give a quick little chat. And all of you are nodding your heads now. I'm shaking them and saying, Terence, you don't know the meaning of a little chat. They always go on and on and on. I used to have someone who used to say, oh no, war and peace again. So I'll try to keep it short. But I won't promise anything because it's just not in me to keep it short, that is. Well, I've been looking at the major concerns that people have about coming to the Philippines. The two major concerns, obviously, they've got the problem or the challenges that are to do with choosing the right person. Now, that's a given, that you're going to choose the right person, and for the sake of this discussion we're going to assume that you have landed on your feet and are every bit as lucky as I am, right? Now you've got many other things to consider. You've got to consider that if you are of advancing years, after 60 or after 65, you may encounter difficulties learning the language. Now, the one thing you cannot afford to do is say, as I have done in the past to my shame, there's no point in saying, well, I'm just too old, I can't learn it now, I mean my memory is just, it's just not, and it's very difficult. This is the one I hear, it's very difficult when you get older, you can't do it. I mean, when you're very young, your mind's like a sponge, you know, I mean it just takes everything, and now I'm not like a sponge anymore. I'm going to give up and I'm not going to learn the language. Don't do that, but be warned, this is the easiest place to do that. Filipinos will quite happily converse around you in their own language and expect, so unreasonably, that you might actually make a little effort to learn their language. Just imagine, transplant yourself back to America or England or an English-speaking country, which is where you may be from, and see what your attitude is. This requires a blinding flash of honesty, by the way, because most people will say, oh, I never expected anybody to learn the language. But we know that that's not true. Somebody who was very militant about this posted on Facebook once and said how it infuriated him when he called any government office in America, in his country, and was told, for English, press 1. In other words, he had to say that he was English in an English-speaking country of which, as an American, he was very proud, as all Americans are. So, you got to get used to the idea that you're going to have to learn the language. Now, I'll give you a tip that has made a difference to me. Given that I am still disgracefully lazy when it comes to learning the language. But what I did was I found things that I wanted to say. Now, one of the things I wanted to say was I had Talik going with me on the bike, because Filipinos won't allow you to travel alone. If I said I'm going to pop down to the hardware store, they say, take Balaluk with you, or take Talik with you. And it usually ended up, because Talik liked to go on the bike with me, that it was Talik. And at the end of it, because either she wasn't speaking very much English then, or she was just too shy, probably a little of both, I would want to actually say to her, did you have fun? So I thought, well, that's the phrase that I need to do. Not like all of those joke learn the language things where you learn French, schoolboy French, where in the phrase book it said, I'm looking for a policeman that's 5'7", and other such useful phrases. No, I thought, what do I need? What do I need to say? And I wanted to ask her, did you have fun? So I asked Beth, how can I say, did you have fun? And she said, Nalingao baka. Nalingao baka. And so I've learned that phrase, Nalingao baka. Now, eventually, if you find enough phrases where you need to be able to say that, like I know if I'm on, in the early days, when I was bothered a lot by these professional beggars that would come up, and they're there every day. They work 9 to 5 and they beg 9 to 5, and that's how they earn their living. Well, there were occasions when I didn't want to give, and I was with a friend who said, well, if you don't want to give, say walang pera, which I think is either Pampangan or Tagalog. But when I turned to the person who had the hand out and pushing on me, I said walang pera. And if they kept pushing, I said walang pera. Probably there are Filipinos out there saying, oh my God, listen to his pronunciation. But it did it. Now, when other people, and I've said this before, when other people said to me, do you speak Visayan? I would put on a shame face and say, I'm sorry, I speak very little. So at least I was saying I speak some. And they say, what do you speak? So don't lie, okay? Never lie about that. You can't be busted for telling the truth, so tell it. And I would say, what do I speak? Well, I can say akong asawa guapa. And akong asawa guapa means I have, loosely translated, means I have a beautiful wife, or my wife is beautiful. And of course, they would laugh at that, until one day, actually this is funny, one day Beth had to go to Tagbilaran, and the next day I had to go. And for some reason we were going on separate days. Well, the first day I took Beth down to the road and I waited with her until the van came. And the van came and she got onto the van, and of course everybody saw me. I saw her onto the van and waved her goodbye. And then the next day I went down there by myself. I wasn't taken down, was I? So I went down and I got the van and I got on and I was sitting there, and I was able to get the front seat, and the conductor said to me, so sir, do you speak Visayan? And I said, I did my performance. Oh, well, I say a little bit like that. So what can you say? And I said, akong asawa guapa. And everybody laughed. Why? And then they said, well, we know that. We saw your wife yesterday. Apparently I'd got the same van as she did the day before. Coincident. So, when you're coming, you really need to address these major issues, and apart from deciding that you are with the love of your life, you need to know the language, because everything that's going on around you, and in the Philippines there's so much laughter. You go into any place and people will be laughing. Now, if you don't know what the heck they're laughing about, how can you laugh? You can smile, but you can't laugh. And all sorts of funny things are happening and you don't know what they're about. So you need to make a little bit of an effort. And finding phrases that you can remember. You can remember a phrase if it's linked to something that you do often. Now, if I would go into the market and get bothered, I would say walang pera. Now that's, I think, Tagalog. Is that Tagalog, Beth?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that I learned a little Tagalog. Now, I would do that. Now, when I'm actually on the jeepney and I need to stop, if I can't attract their attention by going like this, I would say para, and as soon as I said para, the jeep would stop and let me off. And when it was the big bus, well, I got something that was a coin, and I would go, and miraculously, didn't seem like a very big noise to me, but they would hear it and they'd stop and let me off. So I learned things like that I could use. The other thing was that when someone had totaled up several articles of of clothing or some goods, or I went down to the sari store and bought something, how do I ask how much? Well, how do you ask how much? And I was told magkano. So I would say magkano, and they would tell me. Now what happens at first when you learn these phrases, if your pronunciation is reasonable, then people will assume that you speak the language. So you would give off your little phrase very proudly, and then you would be caught in a hailstorm of Visayan in reverse. And then you have to go, wait a minute, I need to get a little bit, right? So be prepared for that. But eventually, when you learn these phrases for all of these everyday situations, you will eventually learn how those questions or phrases are answered. For instance, everywhere that I used to walk, when I used to walk a lot, I would see people along the way, and I don't know how they said it now, I didn't learn it, but they would say to me, "Where have you been?" And now, if I'd learned that phrase, "Where have you been?" which for some reason is like a pre-programmed question that a passerby will ask you, I could have learned that phrase and said, from there, or from there, and that usually would answer the question. But that was something that I need to learn now. So you need to learn things like how much. You need to learn, please stop, let me off here. You need to be able to say, I think. You need to be able to say, my wife is beautiful. That's always nice. But you need to say, Makano. You need to say, did you have fun, to a child. Other little things that you should learn for a happier life. You should be able to tell a little child that she's beautiful. And if it's a boy, you need to be able to say, Ikaw ay guapo. Or you need to be able to point to him, and I use a lot of mime. I would say, point to him and go like this. Face. And I'd say, Pogi. And Pogi means you are handsome. And that will bring a smile to the face of any child. And if it's a little girl, and believe me, you will always be telling the truth when you see this, because the children here it just seems like they're all so beautiful. And I would be able to say, Ikaw ay guapa. And guapa means beautiful. You can say, Ikaw ay maganda, which means beautiful as well, but I think that that's more into Tagalog. So guapa and guapo are, I think, Visayan. So you need to be able to say these things, but you need to use them. There's no point in knowing what they mean if you don't use them. For instance, ¿Cómo está? Is hello. ¿Cómo está ka? Is what you say to someone if you actually want to know how he's doing. So everybody knows. If you're in America, you say, howdy, hey, how you doing? And you don't really mean it at all. The last thing in the world you want that man to tell you is his life story about how badly things are going. So you say, how you doing? So you need to be able to know the difference between how you doing and hey, how's it going? You need to be able to tell the difference. And this is all about interacting with the community that you live in. Now, here's a magical thing about learning those few phrases. Even if you say them terribly, it will make people smile. And when you can make people smile, then you've cracked it. Okay? So, just as my always saying, "Akong asawa guapa," when everybody smiles and laughs at that, I say in English, "Guess who taught me that?" And then everybody knows it was Beth, because that's what they would have done. Your wife taught you that, didn't she? So, learn the language. Now, the other thing, and I don't know how anybody can teach you this, you need to live for the moment, in health, in wealth or lack of it, in health or lack of it. You need to be able to live in the moment and be grateful for what you've got. Now, you would think that this was so easy. If you're an expat and you've come from another country that you felt was over-regulated or was over this or under that or something, you will actually be the luckiest of men or women. You'll be very lucky because things are so much easier here. Now, just to illustrate this, right now, one of the backlights on the blue truck is not connected for some reason. It's got one of those little bayonet connectors that go in like this, and it's been beaten about a bit. So now all of the wires, is about 5, and those wires they're not connecting. So the backlight is out. Plus, when I reversed to drop off some material, the back number plate fell off. Well, actually, it was hanging by a thread, and I took it off and put it under the seat in the truck bed. Well, when I was driving along the other day, going to Tagbilaran, sure enough, a police truck pulls out, or in fact I may have overtaken it. Oh boy, can you imagine that in LA, overtaking a police truck? Well, I did, and then I thought, oh my God, I haven't got a number plate. And when I put my brake light on, which I'd just done, they'll see that back light is out. Well, in LA, it would have been the kiss of death. You'd have been pulled over. If it was at night, those lights that they have on either side of the LA police cars are, it's like they're 1,000 watts each, and they just blaze and blitz you out of your mind while they come up behind you and say, "License and registration, sir." So here I am, and I'm waiting for the foot to drop, or however they say that expression. It never happened. We're not interested. They were not interested. They're going about their stuff. So that whole thing of being on the road and being afraid to even pass a police car, and knowing you're going to get pulled over is it's a nightmare in those other countries, Britain as well. And I don't have that here. In fact, actually, I rarely see a cop. And usually when I see a cop, he's in one of those 4x4 trucks with an open back on it that has 2 long benches, which they cart people around from this place to that place. So I never get bothered, and just that alone is an amazing relief. So be grateful for what you've got. Every day I get up and honest to God, I'm grateful for what I have. it's an amazing release, just that one thing alone. When you've lived somewhere in a high crime rate, in a high crime rate area, and you have the police in very high profile, then it's a relief not to have that situation. I made a video this morning and I showed what it was like when I walked. I had to leave the red truck last night. I had to leave it in Tubicon, get the bus back, got the bus back with Enoch, but this morning he had some work to do, so I walked down to the road myself, and I stood at the road, and every so often a truck would come by, or a car would go by, or a tricycle, and another tricycle, and in the distance a tricycle. And I looked down on the fields, and in the fields was a man ploughing a field, and he was ploughing it with a carabao, pulling a hand plough behind, the same way that the old pioneers in the West, in America, how they did, well, so long ago. And here it is, and it's happening right now. And I said hello to the guy, ¿Cómo está? And then I said, hard work, in English, and he said something to me in Visayan, and a measure of understanding was struck. But it was wonderful. And I waited a while, and I see a bus coming. I'm not at a bus stop. I'm at a blade of grass that's opposite the Foursquare Gospel Church. And I put my hand up like that, and the bus stops for me, exactly where I am. And I get in the bus, and that's it. And I go to Tubicon, and it's, let me see, maybe an hour and a half. An hour and a half. Not too long. And the conductor comes up to me and says, Tubicon? Because that's the only place that the bus is going. I said, yes, indeed. And then I say to him, one senior. And he takes my 100 peso note and he gives me 60 pesos back. It cost me 40 pesos for an hour and a half travel on a bus. I thought that was pretty cheap, actually. So, what's the other thing that we're concerned about? And I have to deal with this very quickly because Beth just came in and said we're going to eat. So, the other thing is the health thing, being near a hospital, worrying about whether the health care is the same here as it is wherever you come from. Well, it's not the same here, especially if you're from the UK, because in the UK, a friend of mine who was only 36 years old suddenly realised he was having a heart attack. 36 years old, heavy smoker, heavy drinker, musician, late nights, little sleep, and he just drove straight to the hospital, went into the emergency room, spoke to the nurse. I'm having a heart attack. She said, how old are you? He said, 36. She said, don't be silly. And he said, I'm having a heart attack. Fortunately for him, amazingly fortunate, there was a transplant team, a heart transplant team, were standing waiting for a donor's heart to be sent over. And they wheeled him into the operating room and they dealt with his heart attack. I think he had a bypass or something, and I don't know, however long it took, a couple of hours, he was out and in a bed in the emergency room. Didn't cost a single penny. So it's not as good as that, but you know, maybe in some cases it's as good as being in America. You'll have to come to terms with that. Somebody said to me once, very sobering thought this was, well, let's face it, Terence, if you get bitten by a cobra, you're going to die. Thank you for that one. Always feel better when these encouraging comments come through. So, Just depends how old you are, doesn't it? My brother stipulated that he was not to be kept on any kind of life support. He was not to be kept that way. He died when he was 52 or 54. He was dead when he hit the pavement. Let me finish, darling. He died as he hit the pavement, and stop laughing because I'm talking about my brother dying. Shut up for a minute, please.
The food is ready.
Okay, I'm finishing now. He had said that he didn't want to be on any support. They got him and they revived him and got him to hospital, but then they didn't put him on any support, and he died. And that's how I would
died,
be.
Han?
My brother.
You got brother, okay.
My brother. My big brother, who was younger than me, because he was bigger.
Yeah, because let me end this video. Yeah, because
I've been hijacked again.
We never know when we gonna left in this world, you know. Whether you're young, you're adult, you know, because we never know what happened. There are other people that died while reading newspaper, you know.
Yes.
You know, like that, because they've been shocked on the news and they got a heart attack, you know. And then there are other also that just sleeping, you know, and there's other also eating, you know, swimming, you know. So whether you've been staying home or wherever you are, life is now not a guarantee because it's in the Bible that death is like a thief. You know, that's why we need to be ready.
What does it say? It's like a thief?
Yeah.
Really?
You never know when did it come to your, you know, you never know when did it come to you. When did you gonna be dying?
It's like a thief in the night then, is it?
Yeah, so that's why always be ready, and you will be ready if you're doing good thing and serving to the Lord.
That's right. The samurai swordsmen used to prepare for battle by dying.
Yeah.
In their mind, I believe, they would die. So therefore, when they went into battle, they were completely fearless warriors because they'd already died.
Yeah, and always
in that way.
Yeah, and enjoy your life every moment like it was your last. You know, if you want to say I love you to the person, to your family, then see it now.
Can you tell me that, honey?
Yeah.
Can you?
Yeah, I love you.
Can you tell me I love you?
I love you, darling. Yeah, so please comment.
I love you too.
Yeah, please comment, and subscribe. Have a good day. As I said, enjoy life and always be grateful. Always be thankful of what you got and always pray. Have a good day and God bless.
Even that 60s song. Even the bad times are good.
Even the bad times are good.
Oh no, she's crying. She started singing. You've ruined everything.